Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I am Hana, evolutionary astrologer, and if this is your first time here, welcome. I am so glad you made it to this video because it's so important. I really want to spend time unpacking the month of April because it's such an important month, and in my humble opinion, it's one of the most intense, if not the most intense month of the year, especially the second half of April. And that's because we're about to experience a huge stellium in the sign of Aries. So, really, starting around the second week of April, the stellium begins to build day by day, gaining strength, gaining momentum, and intensity. A stellium, if you don't know what that is, a stellium is when we have multiple planets gathering in the very same sign, which means that the themes, the energies of that sign are extremely amplified, almost like in this case, Aries, but on steroids. And that amplification applies to both the gifts, the potentials, but also the challenges and the risks. Right now, we already have Saturn, we have Neptune, we have the Sun, Chiron, and Venus already in Aries. So there's already a party there. But what happens in April is that Mercury and Mars join them, and pretty much they meet all of those planets. And then on April 17th, we have a new moon, guess where? In Aries. So, what is Aries about? Aries marks a new beginning. It's a new beginning. It's the beginning of the zodiac itself. So it speaks about that ignition point of the entire cycle. It represents a new chapter. It represents a new beginning and a fresh new start. It's like that new breath. And but the problem and the beauty here is that this is Aries on steroids, which means that there's no ambiguity here. This is really a time of initiation. Yes or yes, or yes. Things begin, period. Aries is that ignition point. So it's about starting, initiating, acting, taking action, go. So this is the energetic weather forecast of this month. The cosmic clock is saying, the cosmic clock is very clear. Go, begin, take action. But we also need to be mindful because this can also lead to rushing, forcing, too fast, too furious, and burning out and burning bridges and a lot of reactivity instead of consciously choosing. Especially if we're not conscious, this fire can burn as much as it can create. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to share the transit chart. I'm going to show you what is going on and how this is building up during April. So here's the transit chart, and this is April 10th. So we're going to see this whole thing unfolding. So this is the chart for April 10th. You can already see all these planets in Aries. We have Chiron, we have the Sun, Saturn, Neptune. And on this day, Mars leaves Pisces and moves into Aries. And this is a really big shift. As soon as Mars enters Aries, it immediately meets Neptune. So this combination can feel confusing. There can be this sense of, okay, let's go, right? That sense of even impotence, because sometimes it's about something that we want to take action upon, something that we feel that there's that clarity and momentum and something is happening, but also that feeling that things can be a little even out of control. There can be fogginess, blurriness, and not seeing things clearly just yet, or seeing things very clearly, but circumstances beyond your control that are not allowing you to take the action that you want to take. This can also heighten emotional sensitivity, and for some people, it can exacerbate feelings like confusion and depression, which can lead to escapism, wanting to get out, so if you have people in your life, or maybe you are struggling with mental health, this is really a time to check in. This is a time to um, to ask for support and also check in to see if people in your life need support. So this is, and also be extra mindful with anything that takes you out of your body or out of this reality, including, for example, alcohol, drugs, anything that alters your state. This is a time to proceed with a lot of caution because Mars and Aries can bring impulsivity. Let's go. Let's start. Let's take action. Let's get out of the house. And Neptune can blur boundaries. So together, this can increase the risk of overdoing things and overdosing or not realizing your limits, going, excess, taking things too far. So please be very mindful around those things, including speed. So driving or rushing or reacting too fast or being too impulsive, because this can increase the likelihood of accidents. Mars in Aries is also connected to sharp objects. So fire also, it's Aries is a fire sign. So sharp objects, fire and weapons and guns, for example. So again, awareness is key. We can also during this time see a lot of cancellations. There can be confusion in plans or people disappearing, a lot of disappearing acts. There's something planned and then all of a sudden, they're not there, or maybe you can't make it. So there can be unexpected turn of events. And on a psychological level, this can amplify fantasy, this can amplify projection and unconscious behavior. So acting out of instinct, acting out of pure desire without clarity, and reacting without grounding. So in some cases, this can show acts of aggression or violence that are coming from deep confusion and anger or lack of direction. But the highest expression of this is the spiritual warrior, is about taking action for something that is greater than yourself, standing up for a cause or fighting for people, for those who don't have a voice, for what you believe in, advocating for injustice, or even helping someone in need. Maybe this can be someone you already know and love and care for, but maybe even someone who you don't know, something for some sort of a charity of a cause, for example, feeding the homeless, something that is beyond just you and your life and your immediate environment. Protecting and also rescuing, for example, rescuing animals or those who need help or intervening in a way that can make a difference. Because the highest level of this Mars Neptune is about courage with compassion. So if you're having a hard time, please ask for help. You don't have to go through this alone. And another really important thing about this chart is that this Mars conjuncting Neptune, I'm actually going to have here the exact day that they meet. This is on April 12 at the second degree, 2 degrees of Aries. And you see that they square Hygeia, the asteroid Hygeia in Cancer, which is all about health and healing. So just to show that there's an increased risk here of health issues if we're pushing too far, if we are not taking good care of our bodies, this could lead to health issues. So it's really important for us to be extra mindful and extra careful. Now I'm going to fast forward to April 15th. On April 15th, Mercury will also enter Aries. So we have here a Mars and Mercury both in the sign of Aries. And leading up to the new moon. So the new moon is on April 17th. I'm going to have the chart here of the new moon so you see it. Um, this is going to be April 17th. And here you see the new moon at the 27th degree of Aries. But this new moon is not happening alone. Look at Chiron at 26 degrees of Aries and Aries at 25 degrees of Aries. So you see that there's something building here, right? You see how this stellium in Aries starts to build up. So this is a time that calls for determination, action, leadership, endurance, courage, and resilience, strength, stamina, starting, moving forward. There's momentum here. And I've been hearing something that I've been hearing a lot from people and friends and clients and people in my life, talking about how things have been feeling foggy or that lack of clarity, a lack of momentum, wanting to start new things, wanting to start a new cycle, wanting to start a new job, right? But not really sure of the right path or how to move forward. So this is, April is a month. It's a powerful moment because we're all of us, we're going to feel this shift. So it's this incredible, powerful moment to get things done, that kind of energy. So it is about getting things moving and stop dreaming. Pisces, we had all these planets in Pisces, Neptune and Saturn in Pisces for many years. And then we had a huge cluster of planets in Pisces in March. Pisces dreams. It dreams about the plan or the vision or the business or what we want to happen, what we want to have happen in our lives. It's the great dreamer, Pisces, right? But Aries acts. It says, in order to make my dreams come true, it's up to me. I got to take action. In order to make my vision, in order to manifest my vision, my desire, my ideas, I have to move my butt. So this is really, that time for that. And this moment is also really great for breaking patterns. So in your life, if there's something that's been limiting you, maybe it's a habit, fears, or old dynamics, self-doubt, people or relationships, friendships, if there's things that no longer serve you, things that are holding you back, things that are keeping you from, gaining momentum and manifesting the life you want to live or putting out this and starting the project you want to start, this is an incredible moment to move through it and to not let those old patterns define you or limit your path forward. Aries does not negotiate with inertia. It says, let's go. Take the next step. Make the move. This is about, in many ways, choosing courage over comfort. And it's a time to be proactive, to take initiative on opportunities, on projects, on ideas, to make moves, and even to take bold action, to take risks, right? That's part of breaking patterns and starting a brand new cycle. So you're going to hear people in your life and also things happen in your own life, people that are saying, okay, I'm done being single. I want to be in a relationship, or I'm done being in a relationship. Time to break up, time to start a new cycle. Maybe there's something happening within that relationship that brings a new phase. Maybe this is about quitting your job. Maybe this is about starting your business. So you have to look at your life and, depending on each person's context, but something here that could be finishing up and a brand new, fresh new start and cycle happening. But Aries energy, when intensified like this is also very volatile. It's hot, it's reactive, it's impulsive, and it can even become aggressive if not used consciously. And this is to me one of the reasons why April is one of the most intense months of 2026, maybe even the most intense month of 2026. On a collective level, we need to be aware of the risks during this period. This can bring themes like domination, power struggles, power dynamics. We can call this in many ways that toxic masculine expression. And I'm not just talking about male and men. I'm talking about, that this is beyond gender. This is about young energy, right? That can come on too strong, too forceful, too unconscious, too fast, too furious. So this can show up as aggression, control, lack of empathy, running over others, and acting without awareness of the impact that's going to cause. And of course, yes, this can manifest through men. We have Saturn in Aries. So Saturn can very much be about authority figures. The great majority of the authority figures, the heads of states are male. So this is about people who are in power. They're going to be feeling this a lot because of this Saturn, this Mars meeting Saturn. I'm going to get to that in just a moment. But this is not just limited to men. This is an energy that can move through anyone when it's not consciously held and used. This could lead to martial energy, martial law, military. There's an increase under this kind of activation. We can see an increase in conflict, in military action. We're already in the middle of a war, so we can see things intensifying, more power struggles, more political confrontations, and a lot of events involving leaders or people in positions of authority. So I hope I'm very wrong here, but there's a very high chance of this war intensifying and leading to more aggression and leading to more violence and even, a lot of shifts in power dynamics and things like, shootings or some sort of a violent episodes and things happening that are coming very much from that unconscious behavior, for that aggression, for that, doing instead of thinking and analyzing and being objective, just acting on pure instinct. And that could be extremely damaging. On a social level, I really hope I'm very, very wrong about this, but this could lead to increased violence, including violence against women. This Aries is a very male energy here. So if this could lead to unchecked energy when projected outward. We can see a lot of protests. We can see uprisings. We can see also activism and people really going out in the streets, fighting for rights, fighting for their justice and for social rights and for the right for what is right. So we can also see this, especially if the leaders, the Saturns, are not acting in integrity and making decisions that are not in a highest alignment. So there is a strong push here and a demand for action, for change, for movement. People will make noise here. But again, the key thing here is consciousness, because the same energy that can fight for something can also turn into energy that fights against in all sorts of destructive ways if not guided with awareness. So there's a lot of heat in the system. The world is burning. The world is on fire. So one word of caution here is pick your battles wisely. Save your energy when you don't need to use it. When we get to May is things are going to start to diffuse. It's going to be a lot less intense. So in April, especially the second half of April, if you don't have to fight, if that's something that can wait, please do wait. This as I was saying before, this can also be a time of breaking up, cutting ties, cutting people off, making making decisive moves that can very much be actually what's needed, right? For the next phase to occur, for you to step into whatever is next in your life. But we must ask ourselves, am I acting from clarity, or am I reacting from impulse? So one suggestion here is try to pause before reacting, especially in moments of frustration, moments of impatience. So check in. Is this truly the right strategy, or am I just very much caught in the heat of the moment? Mercury, as I mentioned, will also be in Aries. Mercury speaks about communication, how we are speaking, how we are expressing ourselves, how we are responding to others. So things can easily escalate into fights, into arguments, into tension and conflict. So again, pick your battles wisely. May is a much calmer month. So if there's something that can wait, maybe a conversation, maybe a confrontation, maybe a decision, maybe it's wiser to hold it for later. So it's kind of both things here. And you have to just, it depends so much on what's going on in your life and what that is about, because this might be a moment that you do need to stand up for yourself. You do need to break up. You do need to stand your ground and say no and cut ties. But also, this can be a month where things escalate a lot quicker. So that's when you have to check in and see if you're acting, if you're reacting, if you're acting out of, really the heat of the moment, the frustration, the impatience, or if this is really is the best strategy for the moment. Mercury is also transportation. So the road, how we move from one place to another, that's all Mercury's territory. So there can be a higher risk of things like impatience and road rage, tension with others, cutting people off, shouting, people reacting quickly. And you might notice this and even in small ways, people getting very irritated in traffic or on the bus or in public spaces, picking fights. People are more reactive. And that also includes you. All of us were under the effect of this huge Aries on steroids energy here. So there can be more defensiveness. We can experience more emotional triggers, more emotional reactivity. So again, being a broken record here, the key is awareness and not letting the moment take over you. So for example, drive a little slower. Be more mindful. Check your car, check your tires. Give yourself extra time when possible. And do expect a little bit of friction, right? So be prepared. Yes, there might be more tension, more friction. So you can meet the stress, with consciousness instead of reaction. Another thing that I want to talk to you about here, especially when Mars meets Saturn, I'm going to have the exact chart here to show you. This is when um, Mars and Saturn meet at the 7th degree of Aries. I'm going to put them on top of the chart so you get to see them. Mars and Aries and Mercury, right? This is April 19th. But again, it's not just one day, it's those 2 weeks especially. This is also a time when the physical body can be more vulnerable. There can be a higher risk of injuries, of accidents, burns, and inflammation. So avoid unnecessary risks. Slow down when possible, slow down when needed, and be mindful, especially around sharp objects. This is Mars and Aries. So we're talking cuts, we're talking injuries, accidents, scars, especially around the face and the head. I actually shared this with you. I have Mars and Aries in my birth chart, in my natal chart, and I have two scars on my face. So I know this energy very well. So protect your head, protect your face. Don't take risks. Wear a helmet. There might be here a higher likelihood of injuries and accidents, especially if you're moving too fast, especially if you're acting impulsively. So this is not a good time to take unnecessary risks and do things like adventure sports or extreme sports or ski trips, any activity that could more easily lead to an injury. So time to not take unnecessary risks. Also be mindful with scissors, knives, anything that can cut through the skin and cause some sort of damage. Even very small things like you cutting vegetables in the kitchen can end up turning into accidents, especially if you're rushing. Also, Aries is fire. Burns are much more likely here under this kind of energy. And think about this symbolically as well. You know, how when there's a lot of fire in the sky, this can show up as a lot of fire in our lives, which can mean literal burns, right? Getting burned, but also emotional ones. So getting burned by someone's reaction, someone's words, by impulsive decisions, by the lack of empathy, lack of patience, right? But this is a two-way street. So this is you with others and others with you. And so we can burn others, we can burn bridges, we can react too fast and end up causing damage that later on we cannot undo. So awareness is truly everything here. Is our best friend in April. And slow down when needed. Move with intention because this fire can create, but it can also destroy. Aries energy is also about, as I was mentioning, the physical body. You know, that's very much Saturn, but Aries rules vitality. The physical force, our fuel. So there can be a tendency here to overreach, to push too hard, to move too fast, too furious. And this can even show up in our bodies as inflammation, sensitivities, allergies. Stress levels here can run higher during this time. So please take good care of your body. If you notice that you're going through a more stressful time, you know, especially if you are, Saturn is our authorities, our leaders, our bosses, but our parents, but also you as a parent, you as the boss, you as the landlord, you as the authority figure. So there could be, we're all more at the effect of high cortisol levels, adrenal stress, burnout, and being in these situations where we have to keep pushing and pushing and pushing without pause, that can end up leading to depletion. It can lead to burnout. It can lead to low energy levels and exhaustion. So the basic things cannot be taken for granted during these times. I'm talking about sleeping well, nutrition, having time to relax, to do your meditation, to ground, to rest the body. These are strategic. Those are very simple. We all know how to do those things, right? But these are very strategic and essential tools during this period. This is not a luxury. Another thing is hydrate. There's a lot of fire in the system, so drink more water. Hydration is essential. Add electrolytes. If you're working out more, if you're sweating more, if you're traveling, your body will need that extra support. If you're, you know, if there's an increased stress levels in your life. Also, as I mentioned, protect your head. Also be mindful of headaches, especially again, if they're coming from stress, if they're coming from dehydration, lack of sleep, or if you're pushing yourself too hard, if there's a lot going on that you have to take care of, please take really good care of your body, right? And slow down when needed, listen to your body and avoid those unnecessary risks. So, on this day here, this is when Mars meets Saturn, which we have to also be very mindful around accidents that can lead to falling down, breaking bones. Bones is Saturn. Saturn is the spine, the bones, the joints, the knees. So, for example, if you have parents elders in your life, please passage this message along because elderly people should really take extra care during this time, especially around falling down, bone injuries. There may be here a higher likelihood of injuries and accidents. So again, not the best time to take unnecessary risks. So if you have loved ones in your life, it may be worth encouraging them to, you know, a bit of extra caution and attentiveness during this period. Um, this is also, as I mentioned, inflammation in the body. So it's helpful to be extra mindful around the quality of the food you're eating, nutrition, so be extra mindful around having too much spicy food, things that can generate heat internally, like fried foods, like heavy red meats, alcohol, sugar, all these things can increase inflammation in the body. So during this period, it may be better to favor foods that are more cooling, more moist, less intense, rather than things that can overstimulate your system. More cooling fruits and vegetables like zucchini, avocado, cucumber, watermelon, lightly cooked vegetables, things that have, fresh fruits and vegetables with a high water content can actually, can be especially helpful. And any supplement or natural support that can help you with inflammation here too, like for example, turmeric and magnesium and ginger and vitamin C and the fish oils. Okay. This is a great time for sauna, for sweating, since the body may naturally want to release tension, release heat. Just be mindful not to push your body too much or overdo it, but you're going to feel this need to move. Aries energy needs to move, it needs to take action, it needs to do something. It can't not be sitting still for many, many hours. So sitting still for long periods it may add to the frustration. So it's really important to have healthy physical outlets for this energy, like running, biking, working out, going for a walk, dancing, swimming, Pilates, martial arts, boxing, dancing, strength training. This is a great time to actually build strength and grow muscle, right? Because that's very much that Aries energy. It supports physical vitality, and that motivation and strengthening the physical body, training, improving your endurance. But just be extra mindful of your limits because this much fire, this much intensity, you can push yourself too hard, push your body too hard, and that increases the risks for strains and for injury. So train smart, warm up properly, and don't forget to listen to your body, right? And honor this Aries energy and find ways to release it outwardly. Move your body, put on loud music, dance wildly in your kitchen. If there's anger, if there's frustration, let it move through you. Punch a pillow, scream, dance, go out for a run, but release this energy. Because what happens with Aries energy, if it doesn't find an outlet for it to come out, to express itself outwardly, it implodes. And that could lead to more information, more inflammation, and more frustration, and more, think about, yeah, just a lot more frustration and heat and fire that doesn't have a way to liberate itself. Um, Another suggestion here, if you want to do this, if there's anything that you want to release and let go, you can also bring fire rituals. So, for example, you can write on a piece of paper. Maybe there are patterns that have been holding you back, old stories, fears. You can, write it down and then burn it. Maybe it's a letter to yourself. Maybe it's a letter to someone that you're ready to release and let go of and start that new cycle. So you can bring fire rituals like lighting a candle. Just be extra careful with fire too, because it can also lead to accidents. But one really strong suggestion is to move your body, right? Because If you may notice, highly likely you'll feel more impatient, more frustrated. When you feel this way, get up, move, clean the house, you know, take multiple walks, find ways to release that stress physically. If you have a punching bag, if you don't, punch your pillow. Breath work is really great. Hot yoga is also really great here. You can also do acupuncture, right? That's great. That's a very Aries tool. Massage too, to release tension in the muscles, to calm the nervous system, and to help to move the stagnant energy too. And if you're doing anything like biking or climbing or even skiing, anything that's active, just be very mindful about protecting your head. Wear a helmet. Take basic safe precautions since Aries rules the head. Okay. Another thing that I want to mention here as a medicine and a tool for the times is to bring the polarity of Aries. The polarity of Aries is Libra. When there's so much Aries, we need to consciously bring the balancing factor, which is all about Libra tells Aries, hey, we also need to listen. We need to pause before acting. We need to take a step back and analyze and look at our options. Libra reminds us that we don't have to do everything alone. So it invites and reminds us that we can collaborate, we can have a dialogue, we can gain perspective from other people, and to have consideration. And really, Libra reminds us to put ourselves in other people's shoes and how our actions affect other people. So, diplomacy, fairness, awareness are also really part of this, the antidote for this Aries, this huge Aries sky. So even though Aries says go, right? The polarity, Libra says yes, but pause before you go, listen, consider, relate. So this is part of the medicine here. Because when Aries gets too hot, too fast, and too reactive, Libra helps Aries to cool it down, right? It brings more balance, it brings more reflection, and even more strategy. Um, so I want to show you again another really important date here that I actually mentioned already, which is the new moon, right? This new moon in Aries with Chiron in Aries, the disruptor, right? If you don't know her, if you want to go in deeper into her myth, I have a full video linked below so you can get to know her a little bit more. But what she does is that she can bring tension, not to create chaos for no reason, but to reveal truth. And sometimes the truth is very inconvenient. It's hard to swallow, but it's something that we cannot ignore anymore. So this new moon, we can see, the Chiron can also bring the wounds. There can be wounds here coming to surface around rejection, not belonging, anger arising, feeling unheard, feeling dismissed, or calling out injustice, imbalance, inequality, and disruption. There can be this sense here of people speaking uncomfortable but necessary truths and tension, but standing your ground. With Chiron, these wounds can be triggered around identity, even the right to be here, the right to exist, the right to live our lives, the right to live the lives that we want to live. So this new moon is intense. But this is also hopefully where healing happens because what is being brought to surface needs to be seen, needs to be acknowledged, and needs to be moved through. So this is a new moon, April 17th, to reclaim your voice. It's a new moon to stand your ground, to take action from that place of truth, and to initiate change that has been maybe avoided for too long. On a collective level, we might see rising in social tensions, especially around inequality, injustice, the war. We can see protests and activism, people taking to the streets, a lot of public call outs and exposures truth bombs coming out, and a lot of polarization. Us versus them, I versus you type of thing, me versus you. And a lot of clashes between individuals, groups, and political sides, and voices demanding to be heard. So there can be a lot here about power, domination, especially if it's coming from that distorted, unconscious masculine energy. And, but again, as I mentioned, this is beyond gender. This is anything that becomes excessive and reactive and disconnected from awareness, and lack of empathy. So another really thing that I want to share with you before, I close this video is two extra tools that I want to give you. Um, First, look at your moon. You know what sign your moon is in, because the moon gives you very important information about what you need to feel safe, to feel regulated, to be supported during this time. So work with your moon as your anchor. For example, if you have your moon in an air sign, and you're stressed out. If you have the moon in Gemini, Libra, Aquarius, you need connection. Go talk to your friends. Go spend time with your partner. Have conversations, vent, express what's in your mind, express what's going on. If you have a moon in a water sign, Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces, you need to feel, you need to rest, you need to take time off. That's essential. You need to be with your emotions. You need to allow yourself space and softness and care and self-care, because the stress is going to move, it's going to impact you, and it can feel like a lot. So you need to be able to rest and integrate everything that's happening. If you have a moon in an earth sign, if you have a moon in Taurus or Virgo or Capricorn, you absolutely need grounding. Be in nature, slow down, take good care of your body, create stability as much as possible through your routine. You know, have the nourishing foods, have some sort of a schedule and good sleep that can really help you to ground in your body. So the earth moon will feel things more in the body. You know, the water moon will feel it emotionally a lot more. And if you have a moon in a fire sign, if you have a moon in Aries, if you have a moon in Leo and Sagittarius, you need to move your body. You need to bring movement. You need to take action. You need to release energy and express where you feel instead of keeping it bottled up. Another thing. So look at your moon, also look at your Venus. Your Venus brings a sense of soothing. It helps to bring you back to peace, to calm, to softness. It can also help you regulate and slow down and reconnect with what feels good and nourishing. So for the majority of April, so look at your Venus, but the transiting Venus, the majority of April, the transiting Venus, the Venus in the sky, she will be in Taurus. And Taurus really reminds us to ground, to slow down, to connect with nature, to come back to the body. So eat slowly. You know, with this Aries, strong Aries energy, everything is fast, everything is urgent. So this moon in sorry about that. The Venus in Taurus here can be very much about eat slowly, be present with your food, bring beauty into your life. So if the world feels like it's on fire, buy yourself flowers, you know, cook a good meal, hug your loved ones, spend time outside, work on your garden, touch the earth, touch if you can't go outside for whatever reason, you know, touch the earth, the soil in your plant, the plants that you have in your house. Listen to music, sing, light a candle, right? And rest. These are really not small things. These are truly essential tools. This is medicine for this time so you can stay rooted, you can stay centered, and you can really stay connected to yourself, because when everything is move fasting, um, these tools can really help us stay grounded within it. So we've covered a lot. I really hope this is helpful for you as you move through this month. Please be extra safe, take good care of yourself and also of each other. So really wishing you the best possible month ahead. May we move with courage and also with awareness, intention, and may we use this energy to create and not destroy. And please share this with the people in your life. The more we understand these energies, the better we can navigate them, move through them consciously, and hopefully avoid a lot of unnecessary challenges. And if this video resonates with you, don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet. And I will see you on the next video.